very good evening and welcome to the news tonight here on Sabha TV. I'm Tracy Shilshi and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting you all the day's top stories from India and across the world. Let's start with the headlines. President Pranab Mukherjee makes another appeal for unity and tolerance, urges the nation to eliminate the divisive forces in the society. After reportedly issuing gag orders to his party leaders on raking up controversies, BJP President Amit Shah claims state governments are to blame for incidents in UP's Dadri and Karnataka. More instances of intolerance. Hindu Sena activists throw ink on Kashmir MLA engineer Rasheed for allegedly hosting a beef party, while Shiv Sena blockades BCCI chief's office on resuming cricket matches with Pakistan. Rail services halted, road traffic suspended on the Jammu and Kashmir highway after clashes break out over the death of a truck driver in a mob attack. And China's economy grows 6.9% in the third quarter, its weakest showing since the global financial crisis of 2009. Top story this evening, President Pranab Mukherjee has once again spoken out against the rising wave of intolerance in the country. He said, and I quote, "Humanism and pluralism should not be abandoned under any circumstance. Assimilation through receiving is a characteristic of Indian society. Our collective strength must be harnessed to resist evil powers in society," unquote. Now, addressing a gathering in Birbhum, the president asked if tolerance and acceptance of dissent are on the wane. He said tolerance was the backbone of Indian civilization as it has always accepted dissent and differences. He also pointed out that the constitution accommodates all the differences. The president's strong words come in the backdrop of a series of incidents, including the Shiv Sena forcing the cancellation of Ghulam Ali's concert and disrupting talks between the cricket boards of India and Pakistan. In fact, the president had recently also made a strong appeal for maintaining the country's core values of diversity, tolerance and plurality in the backdrop of the Dadri lynching. Meanwhile, BJP President Amit Shah has denied any communal tension in states ruled by his party. Despite clashes in Jammu and Kashmir, Shah chose in fact to highlight the Dadri lynching incident in UP and also writer Kalburgi's murder to shift the blame on state governments. He also took on the Nitish Kumar-led Grand Alliance in Bihar for harping on controversial issues like beef and reservation.
Facing sustained attack from opposition on recent spat of intolerance across the country, BJP President Amit Shah addressed the press on Monday to clarify his party's stand. The clarifications came a day after he summoned 5 BJP leaders, including Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar, to reportedly reprimand them from their controversial remarks on incidents like Dadri lynching and Kalburgi murder. However, on Monday, he alleged deliberate attempt by opposition to malign the party for its political agenda. He also claimed that BJP-ruled states have not suffered from such incidents recently.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी वर्तमान आरक्षण व्यवस्था की समर्थक है। इसमें किसी भी प्रकार के बदलाव का समर्थन नहीं करती है। संविधान ने दलित, आदिवासी और पिछड़े अति पिछड़ों को जो अधिकार दिया है, उसको अक्षुण्ण रखने के लिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी कटिबद्ध है।
He also took on journalists who repeatedly asked him questions over RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's comments and recent rows over Dadri lynching and beef ban. He also clarified on questions raised by Bhagwat on caste reservation. He accused Nitish Kumar and Lalu Prasad of trying to turn Bihar polls into a battle between backward caste and upper caste.
जो वहां का दादरी का वातावरण विषाक्त किया है, उसके लिए बजरंग दल, विश्व हिंदू परिषद समेत दर्जनों संगठन जिम्मेदार हैं.
However, opposition parties criticized Shah's clarification. They also claimed that sensing defeat in Bihar polls, the party is in desperate mood to restore its image.
जब वो जंगल राज की बात करते हैं ना, तो पिछड़े दलितों को अपमान का बोध होता है, गरीबों को अपमान का बोध होता है। 15 वर्ष सबलीकरण के भी वर्ष थे, असमानता के व्याकरण के बदलाव की शुरुआत थी, सत्ता में भागीदारी के स्वरूप बदल गए, हिस्सेदारी की पूरी समग्र समझ बदल गई। और अमित शाह जी इस ऑडेसिटी के साथ बोलते हैं जंगल राज, वो हार का दायरा और बढ़ा रहे हैं ये कह करके।
Meanwhile, RSS claimed that Mohan Bhagwat's remark on reservation was distorted by critics to create confusion about the organization's view on the issue. The organization said that the issue should not be politicized. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in Mumbai, 10 people were arrested today after Shiv Sena activists protested outside the BCCI office, in fact inside as well, just before board chief Shashank Manohar was to meet with his Pakistani counterpart Shahryar Khan. The protest comes days after the party stopped Ghulam Ali's concerts and also tried to disrupt former Pakistani Foreign Minister Rasheed Kasuri's book launch. Here are the details.
Shiv Sena's protests against hosting Pakistani nationals continued on Monday. This time, Pak Cricket Board Chief Shahryar Khan was its target. The Sena workers stormed the BCCI office and gherawed board president Shashank Manohar at his desk. Holding posters and shouting slogans, they protested against any proposed India-Pakistan cricket series.
कुछ भी होए, मगर पाकिस्तान के साथ जब तक पाकिस्तान अपनी गलत अमीर से दूर नहीं हटेगा, तब तक पाकिस्तान से ना बात होगी ना चीत होगी. किसी भी बात पर पाकिस्तान के साथ कोई भी संबंध नहीं रखना चाहिए.
अनुराग ठाकुर जो बीसीसीआई के सेक्रेटरी है, आप उनका भी बयान जो आया था बीच में देख लीजिए, वो भी पाकिस्तान के साथ क्रिकेट खेलने के लिए उनका विरोध रहा है. ऐसे बहुत से लोग हमारे देश में है तो प्रखर राष्ट्रभक्त है और पाकिस्तान के साथ किसी भी रिश्ते रखने के खिलाफ है. और शिवसेना ने अपनी भूमिका हमेशा कायम रखी है, चाहे सत्ता में हो या ना हो, हम कभी बदले नहीं, ना कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया है.
The protests came only days after the fiasco over Rasheed Kasuri's book launch. Former BJP leader Sudhindra Kulkarni was smeared with black ink by Sena workers, who were later praised by the party chief. Sena had earlier forced cancellation of Pak singer Ghulam Ali's concerts. The party drew flag as police arrested 10 Sena workers for the protests on Monday.
You can protest in the public places. You can protest on the TV channels, on social media. But this is not the right way to barge into someone's office and protest. I condemn the way they have protested.
Never compromise with the national interest. So jumping on the conclusion what would happen after the discussion with PCB, I think this kind of demonstration is completely uncalled for. It should not have been done. And our dialogue with Pakistan Cricket Board would continue. Even in worse days, when Indo-Pak relations were very bad.
Later, the board chiefs met quietly at a hotel in Mumbai and discussed a potential bilateral series. Not long after Shiv Sena protests forced them to shift the venue of the meeting from the BCCI office. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
An independent Jammu and Kashmir MLA engineer Rasheed has also become the latest victim of an ink attack. The attack on Rasheed happened just a day after he commented on the attack on a Kashmiri truck driver for alleged cow slaughter. Rasheed was accompanied by the family of the truck driver when 3 men threw black ink on him. 2 persons detained for the attack claimed that they were angry with the MLA for organizing a beef party in Srinagar on the 7th of October. The men also claimed that they have no political affiliations. Earlier this month, the independent lawmaker was also thrashed by a BJP MLA, in fact lots of them inside the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly for the same reason. Meanwhile, the Kashmiri trucker succumbed to his injuries at a Delhi hospital on Sunday, prompting calls for a shutdown by separatists. The shutdown today was marked by protests and clashes between protesters and security forces.
A shutdown call, clashes between protesters and security forces, and curfew-like restrictions in some areas. The week started on this note for residents in many areas of Jammu and Kashmir after a shutdown call by separatists turned into a violent protest. The shutdown call was given over the attack on a trucker last week. The trucker, who succumbed at a hospital in Delhi on Sunday, was laid to rest amid tight security. Curfew-like restrictions have been imposed in 8 police station areas and several separatist leaders put under house arrest. Rail and road traffic has also been affected. Rail services have been halted in the Kashmir belt, while traffic on the Srinagar-Jammu National Highway is also disrupted.
कुछ डाउनटाउन में कर्फ्यू भी लगाया है, माइसुमा भी है, क्रिटिकल कंडीशन है, अभी हालत खराब हो चुकी है और मैं अपील करना चाहता हूँ सब भाइयों बहनों से कि जो भी हिंदू भाई हो, मुसलमान भाई हो, अमन से रहे, क्योंकि पीस हमारे लिए सबसे जरूरी है. इस पर्टिकुलर इस कश्मीर के लिए डेवलपमेंट के लिए पीस सबसे जरूरी है.
Seeing the tense situation, the state cabinet has passed a resolution condemning the October 9th petrol bomb attack. The resolution also lauds the people of the state for maintaining peace and calm. An ex gratia amount of 5 lakh rupees and a government job to the next of the kin of the deceased youth has also been announced. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, hours after he was granted bail in Rajkot, Hardik Patel, the face of the Patel quota agitation, was rearrested in Surat on sedition charges. The more serious charges were slapped on him for making provocative and instigative statements against policemen. Earlier in Rajkot, Patel was arrested on charges of insulting the national flag.
First arrested for insulting the national flag, now an FIR with sedition charges. 22-year-old Patel quota agitation leader Hardik Patel was allegedly caught on camera telling supporters to kill policemen rather than commit suicide for the reservation cause. Hardik Patel has alleged that his comments were misinterpreted. He has also questioned the authenticity of the videotape. But the Gujarat police say the tape has been verified and it is not doctored. Sedition is a serious, non-bailable offence.
TV9 एक न्यूज़ चैनल है, उसके कवरेज के दरमियान कुछ ऐसी बातें कही थी जो काफ़ी प्रोवोकेटिव और इंस्टिगेटिव थी. उसमें पुलिस के खिलाफ प्रोवोकेशन किया गया था.
Hardik Patel is already under arrest in Rajkot. An FIR was filed against him for allegedly insulting the national flag. Police say they have a video of Hardik Patel which suggests that his feet touched the national flag as he jumped onto the top of a car. This happened as police blocked Patel's vehicle when he was on his way to the cricket stadium ahead of the India-South Africa ODI. He had threatened to stage a protest there.
अभी हार्दिक ने जब ये गाड़ी के ऊपर राष्ट्रीय ध्वज का भी अपमान किया है उसने, क्योंकि उसने राष्ट्रीय ध्वज की गरिमा को खराब किया है. हाथ में राष्ट्रीय ध्वज लेके और उसके बाद उसने पैरों पे भी लगाया था. तो राष्ट्रीय ध्वज का अपमान करवा बदल पर निम्न विरुद्ध गुना दाखिल था इसे.
हम टिकट मैच देखने आए, यहाँ विरोध करने नहीं आए. बहुत लोग आए सिर्फ हिंदुस्तान को जिताने के, उनके सपोर्ट में आए.
Hardik will be produced before a local court later. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
With that, let's take you through some more updates from across the country and nationwide. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi has written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi asking him to grant special category status to Andhra Pradesh. He also urged the centre to announce a time frame for fulfillment of commitments made in Andhra Pradesh Reorganisation Act 2014. His letter comes 3 days before the Prime Minister visits the state for the inauguration of its new capital, Amravati. Gujarat and Karnataka have removed the ban on Nestle's Maggi noodles. The ban was lifted after Maggi samples passed all the tests in 3 laboratories designated by the Bombay High Court. Maggi noodles came under the scanner in May this year after UP's food regulator claimed that it contained excessive lead. The government today raised the import duty on wheat to 25% from 15%. The duty will remain applicable until March next year to restrict overseas purchases in the wake of falling global prices. The price of pulses have touched 200 rupees per kilo despite, in fact, amid a shortfall in production. A quick break here, but still ahead, Nepal's Deputy Prime Minister hints at an end to mistrust over trade blockade as India assures essential supplies. Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, Nepal's Deputy Prime Minister Kamal Thapa wrapped up his India visit today after meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The agenda of his visit was to seek India's help in tackling the ongoing protests over Nepal's new constitution and the trade blockade for the past 2 months. Thapa said that the visit has cleared the air of mistrust between the countries.
The mistrust between Nepal and India over protest and trade blockade may finally be over. After meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday, Nepal's Deputy Prime Minister Kamal Thapa said his 3-day visit has been successful to clear the air over India's alleged role in blocking border trade with Nepal, leaving it in severe crisis of fuel and other essential items.
I'm quite optimistic. I think this visit has been able to clear the air of mistrust and misunderstanding, and it has also prepared the ground for further strengthening our bilateral ties.
The PMO also issued a statement that India wants to see a united, inclusive and stable Nepal. The Prime Minister assured of India's commitment to strengthen ties with the neighbour. However, there is still no clarity when the trade blockade will be lifted. Thousands of trucks remain stranded at the border, the main supply route into landlocked Nepal, due to protest by the Madhesi community. On Saturday, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj had assured an alternative route to send in supply.
We have requested them for the smooth flow of fuel and resume the supply line in a normal way. The leaders and the officials have assured us that India will not obstruct and India will help in maintaining the smooth flow of supply lines.
Earlier, political parties in Nepal had blamed India of blocking out border trade. India had denied the allegation, claiming trucks were stopped due to concerns over protest in which over 40 people had died. Nepal had also moved UN to seek international help to ensure supply of essential goods like fuel. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by Prashant Palchayatri, who's the Foreign Affairs Editor at the Hindustan Times, joining us from the capital this evening. Pramit, just focusing on those talks and the statement, of course, that's coming in from Mr. Thapa, that air of mistrust between both the countries has been cleared now. But a lot of that mistrust was coming in from Nepal's side, is at least what India had claimed.
Well, the air of mistrust will continue for a while because the Indian pressure on Nepal to change the constitution will continue. When the Prime Minister Narendra Modi says that he wants an inclusive Nepal, he is basically saying that you have to bring in, you cannot disenfranchise the Madhesi community in the manner that the present constitution is. So if that continues to be the crux of the matter, while fuel supplies may be allowed in by India, I would expect some sort of a de facto trade sanction will continue. And I should add that the Madhesis, the trucks can go in from the Indian side into Nepal, but the trucks will immediately go into Madhesi territory. And so they are in a position to block or more likely just seize the trucks themselves.
Absolutely, and which is exactly why India has been reiterating time and again that this is not a problem that you have with us. It's an internal problem that you need to sort out first. And, the problems that you're facing are because of the border areas in your side, the Madhesi community. In what way are we seeing the Nepal government, the new one, at least the new Prime Minister, trying to approach this problem?
Well, only the new Prime Minister has said that he will be meeting the Madhesi leaders to discuss the situation. But India will they will expect him to do more than just talk. And it will not be easy for him. There's a belief in some quarters in New Delhi, at least, that only himself helped trigger this crisis to some degree, or at least encouraged it so that he could be Prime Minister. Now that he's in power, if that's the case, he now has to sit down and walk this back. But there will be no question of India more than marginally reducing or supporting the Madhesi movement on this constitutional issue for a very simple reason, that this is 30% of the population. If they are disenfranchised, the fear in India is that this will effectively be something similar to what befell Sri Lanka, in which Nepal will eventually end up with another civil war sometime in the next 10 or 20 years, as the Madhesi community turns on the Paharis. So this has to be changed, and it has to be changed at some point, and the pressure right now should not be in any way reduced by the Indian government, at least on the issue of the constitutional demand.
And also, Pramit, just looking at India's strategy, yes, we do understand it is, it has immense amount of trade ties with Nepal, the most that Nepal has with any other country, at least within the subcontinent. How much is India concerned that perhaps China is going to be taking an advantage of what the situation is at the moment?
Well, China did initially announce that it would support the constitution, but since then China has been very quiet. And from what I gather is that when Nepalese did approach the Chinese embassy for help, the Chinese embassy's response is that we are asking the Indians for fuel, basically saying that we are not going to break the sanctions And if we, the embassy of China, cannot provide fuel for ourselves, then don't expect us to do anything for you. China fundamentally is primarily concerned about the Tibetan population in Nepal. That is their #1 priority. And second, they want to have stability in Nepal, that they want Nepal to be stable, because their fear is that an unstable Nepal leads to an unstable Tibet, which is their really big fear. So they're not interested in getting into a crisis or encouraging a crisis in Nepal that leads to further instability. So they're prepared to take India's lead on this position, at least for the time being.
All right, Prashant Palchayatri, thanks so much for joining us on this story. Meanwhile, China's economy grew by 6.9% in the third quarter. This was in fact its weakest showing since the global financial crisis. It has stepped up pressure on policymakers to cut interest rates further and roll out other support measures to avert a sharper slowdown. The year-on-year growth rate is also below the government's 7% target. It was also the lowest rate since the first quarter of 2009, when growth tumbled to 6.2%. However, with improved factory output and retail spending, it has raised hopes that the economy would maintain stable growth in the future.
保持稳定运行的，应该是一个最可能的事情啊。这就是说，中国经济啊，应该说是会继续保持总体稳定运行的这个态势啊。为什么这么说呢？啊，我觉得是说这个支撑中国经济的这个增长的动力。
With that, let's take you through other international news updates in Global Buzz. Typhoon Kopu swept across Philippines, killing at least 9 people. Strong winds toppled trees, power lines and walls, and while floodwaters forced tens of thousands of people out of their homes. Officials fear the death toll may rise after the typhoon tore through the main island of Luzon, leaving several remote towns and villages isolated. Thousands of migrants are stranded at the borders in the Balkans in cold and wet conditions. With their path to Western Europe blocked, several hundreds, including young children and babies, spend the night in the open at Croatia's border with Slovenia. The Western Balkan route has been closed by government restrictions. Elections closed across Egypt as many voters shun the first phase of a parliamentary election. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is calling the vote a milestone on the road to democracy, but his critics have branded it as a sham. Meanwhile, amid an Islamist militant insurgency, Egyptians turned out for the second day of voting in Giza. Hundreds of South Koreans will gather in Sokcho on Monday to prepare for the long-awaited reunion with their families from North Korea. More than 390 elderly people arrived at Hanwha Resort in Sokcho to undergo a health checkup. And now let's get you some sports news in SportsBeat. The PCCI Selection Committee announced the team for the remaining 2 ODIs and the upcoming Test series against South Africa today. All-rounder Ravindra Jadeja will make a comeback in the Test squad after a gap of nearly 14 months. The selectors also replaced Umesh Yadav with fast bowler Srinath Arvind for the ODI series. India's Saket Mainini clinched the Vietnam Open with a straight sets win over Australia's Jordan Thompson. The 4th-seeded saved the 5 of the 6 breakpoints to win 7-5, 6-3. This was his first singles challenger title of the season. Bayern Munich edged past struggling Werder Bremen 1-0 to set a Bundesliga record for the best start of a season with 9 consecutive victories. German striker Thomas Müller scored the solitary goal in the first half. Bayern now has 27 points, restoring their 7-point lead over second-place Borussia Dortmund. They will now face Arsenal in the Champions League next week. That's all we have for you on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night.